What the fuck is Alien Earth?
All right, so the Alien like series of films and video games and properties like started off so strong. Those original like first two movies are like considered some of the best that has ever been, and then the following movies have been like
Blue chunks,
or not so great for people who aren't Kevin.
We got bought by Walmart.
Yeah,
I mean, pretty funny. We don't get it wrong.
It's funny, but it doesn't make for like a
movie,
good,
yeah.
respectable film. But recently, there's this movie that came out. The last actual Alien movie that came out was really good. I really liked it. I talked about it on the pod already, I'm sure.
Yes.
But like this show coming out, every episode feels like a movie.
Really?
It rules. Now, I want you to temper that with I'm a massive nerd, and I don't necessarily know what a good thing is if my massive nerd intersects with that thing. But I have been loving it. I've only seen the first 4 episodes. Those are the ones that were out at this point. But there's like a bunch of new aliens, and all of the actual things are very genre savvy. Like it assumes that you've seen these alien movies and don't want to see the same thing happen again.
Oh, okay.
So like there's a scene where an alien like is on top of like this shipping container type thing, and the characters like stab upwards into the thing, and then acid blood will come down. It's an alien film. That's what's supposed to happen. And then it drips on the guy, and they see like it like melted the thing that they stabbed it with. So he immediately takes off the vest. They figure it out instantly, the acid blood. Everything the characters figure out instantly, but they still are getting got by the little things that you haven't necessarily thought about. It's incredible. Absolute tour de force of showmanship, and I hope that the next episodes don't make me a fool.
I'm glad. It's good, because my brain skipped a beat, and when you said Alien Earth, I thought you said Battlefield Earth for a second.
No.
That's a very different experience.
Very different experience.
Very different conversation that would follow
Very
after
different
as well.
IPs, yeah.
It's an historical account, if you didn't know.
If you didn't know, don't you know?
Well, all I can tell you about Battlefield Earth is how you meant to know that, man-animal.
Yeah, God bless. And with that, welcome back to Scryer's Room. I am your host, Famfare.
I'm Kevin.
And I'm Mario.
And if you enjoy the nature of today's content, go ahead and give us a like and subscribe on YouTube. You can go ahead and give us a follow on Blue Sky, and you can support us on our Patreon. And today, we're going to get back into our Ork series and cap it off with the final installment. And these we're going to start off with some addendums that Mario wants to go over, if I'm correct.
I don't know if I have much to correct. I don't think.
Okay.
Let's go over the minutes of the previous meeting.
There's a couple things that, because I brought it up last episode that I didn't know the Doc Grotsnik book was already out. Mm-hmm. And so I got it that night. And then...
as is tradition.
So it's a week later, and I've gone through it twice.
Oh, man.
Because, of course, I have.
The goat.
And there's a lot of stuff in there that's like... wow. Like, there's a lot of implications. So that, that blew open a lot of stuff. But there's a couple of things in there. Like, that book, particularly, like, the whole Tyranid question was a little iffy, about if orcs can get gene stolen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they can, but it does seem as though orcs are, naturally resistant to it.
I remember hearing that orkiness wins out. Like, they're just too orky to be listed to listen to the hive mind.
So it's not that exactly. It's just that they're not ideal at all as a gene
they're just
stolen.
a bad host.
Yeah.
I imagine that. I mean, it's called gene stealing. The reason that it works is because every generation they get more and more genes stolen.
Which that I still don't know if that happens or not.
Well, I mean, in my head, it obviously shouldn't, because that means that it requires sexual
usually, yeah.
Actual reproduction, whereas orcs they're spore boys, which is an inexact cloning method. That's like the way that sexual reproduction works is we form zygotes, which forms an inexact half clone of basically of either parent in forming a new person with full telomeres and whatnot. Nonsense science that I don't know all of. But like asexual reproduction through spores is like a massively different like shift in life cycle.
Yeah, that's one I cannot confirm or deny if that happens or not. Orks can be gene stolen, but if they... Grotsnik was doing a lot of shit. Like, he can just manipulate Tyranid DNA, because why not?
I don't see why
Mad
not.
Dog.
And, yeah,
Still DNA.
he basically just, on a whim, kind of just injects a grot with some gene stealer juice, I guess. And then the grot is like...
The Grots.
He also... It's fucking dumb. He puts the... I think he puts the whole grot in what he calls it the centorfuge, and it just spins it
Right.
like a fucking
Like a
rat.
centrifuge, yeah.
Yeah, and he says it speeds things up, and so that made the transformation go a little faster, I guess. But basically, the grot starts like screaming because
It will force the denser Tyranid fluids deeper into his porous body.
it was trying to take over him, and he was aware of it. He kept saying
Get
stuff
out of my
like,
mind, child.
it was
Okay.
like it's trying to put thoughts in my head that aren't right, you know.
Yeah.
And then they just kind of threw him outside to see what the gene stealers would do. And for a second, one picked it up and like held it as if it was gonna like, you know, accept it, and then he just killed it.
Damn, got his ass.
And then another orc gets gene stolen later, but he dies instantly because Grotsnik is just like, you're infected. Because the orcs can tell when someone is infected too. They can smell it apparently, and then they just know instinct like something's off. Like you're not
You're
not
not
being orky.
Your other kid.
Like
right
something's
now.
wrong with you. So they're immediately tipped off. Like they're aware that something is not right, and they'll probably just kill you. So yeah, gene stealers, orcs, not a good target for them.
Orcs sound like they're actually, you know, one of the only ones that are going to be able to stop Tyranids.
Yeah, Grotsnik does. Spoilers, sorry if you care. That he does create basically a gene stealer orc.
Oh man.
So he makes like a Frankenstein's monster cobbled together of all sorts of bits and pieces. Has squig legs, giant ass, like dinosaur legs, basically.
Sick nasty.
And then this is my interpretation of it. It doesn't like flat out state that this is what happened. It starts as like a big orc that just looks wrong. Like it's like got weird color, and his eyes aren't red. They're solid black. And then over the course of it's fighting Gazkul, because that's what he made him to do. It transforms into a full purebred gene stealer.
Oh man. Okay.
Yeah,
Oh, shit.
Yeah. So he can just do that. Also, he had wired it to his own brain, so he was controlling it. So Grotsnik can just do whatever, apparently.
He can make remote control.
The Mad Dog.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I imagine they're still green, but gene stealers.
I don't know. Then after that, like, the reason I say is I'm not sure.
How fun would it be if they paint like checkerboard patterns on like the chitinous armor parts?
Because he's tough.
Yeah.
But yeah, like they didn't seem concerned about like killing it and spores or anything. But so who knows about that? I don't know if I have anything else really to correct or update. There's probably something in there. But today, so I'm going to argue a few things. Right now, what started this was since we started this podcast, it was inevitable I was going to do something about orcs.
Oh, yeah.
So that was going to happen. But also, I wanted to do this specifically, make an argument for a couple things, because I'm sure no one will be surprised. I enjoy listening to lore videos on YouTube or whatever.
You?
Yeah. And I'm familiar with a lot of, probably most of the most popular Warhammer YouTube guys. And one of them is Wes Hammer.
Wes Hammer.
Wes Hammer. He's pretty popular. Apparently he like blew up on TikTok or something, and then like moved over to YouTube. And I watch his videos. Like I like his stuff.
Yeah.
And by and large, I would say that on most subjects, I defer to him. Like he seems like he knows more than me. Like he's been in the hobby for twice as long as I have.
Yeah. This is a hobby that you can have like a half a century of experience.
For most people, it's like been a lifetime thing.
Yeah.
Example, Tony.
But granted, I know a lot of the older stuff, but I kind of tapped out of learning new lore. So I don't consider myself to be one of the more knowledgeable people anymore. I would consider more in certain areas, specifically things like orcs and horse heresy even. I consider you to be more knowledgeable than I am.
Well, but the like.
But I'm a lifelong player, though.
Well,
I've been in the hobby since I was 10 years old.
And what I meant more is just like it's been a lifelong thing for you, but you like other things.
Yes.
Some people, Warhammer's their only thing.
Yes, is their special interest.
And
like that is what they're doing.
That's their jam. That's their deal.
I've been into it for a while, but I go in and out of it. Yeah.
And presumably most of the lore tuber guys are that, I assume. And so Wes Hammer, I trust him when he makes a video, But then he does have some opinions that I don't necessarily agree with, but he does try to back things up with he's pretty open about that. He tries to source everything or whatever. And so I watched one of his videos, which a while back, and it was like the 10 biggest misconceptions in Warhammer 40K. Mm-hmm. And by and large, I was like, yeah, okay, yeah, sure, yeah. And then the very last one was about orcs. And then he claims in the video that...
And that sent you down the dark path of coming to this long podcast.
So he makes the argument in that the Ork Psychic Gestalt field does not have anything to do with their technology. Like it doesn't influence it whatsoever.
It's unrelated.
Yeah, the belief thing, not true.
Right.
Because he says there's nothing in lore to back this up. What he's correct about is there's nothing that explicitly states that.
Right.
But there are a lot of things that heavily implicate that is the case. That at the very least, it helps their technology. But he said definitively that's not the case. There's nothing to support this. If anyone tells you that... I couldn't tell if maybe he was like slightly being sarcastic because...
We're all autistic in this podcast.
Yeah,
so I sometimes can't tell when someone's being facetious, and I'll be like, I'm attacking what you said, not what you meant, motherfucker. Here it goes. Blam! And so I get that.
Because he says specifically at one point that if somebody tries to tell you that orc technology works because they believe it does, that's bullshit. And I took exception to that. So it's not that I'm upset about it. It's just I guess I am.
I'm intrigued. I'm very intrigued.
He by and large he's good about hey, this is where I got this information from. This is how this got changed. He's another one of the people who's of the opinion that true retcons don't happen in 40K that often. It's more of usually just reworking of something that's already there.
Yeah, they're just trying to expand upon what's already there. Yeah,
which I agree with, mostly. But I think I can make a very strong argument that the Ork Psychic Gestalt does affect technology. It has some influence. How much that is, you can argue that. But I have a lot of quotes here to...
lay out your arguments,
from books, codexes. There were some I couldn't get my hands on, so some of the stuff I got from forums on Reddit, and so people quoting, giving the book source and the page number and all that.
Right.
If they didn't do that, I don't consider it
You have an indirect source rather than a direct source.
Yeah, as long as it
still does link back.
Yeah, as long as they're citing something okay, I'll trust this one. But if there's no source, then I just threw it out immediately. Yeah. So I have a bunch of that, but something else too that I wanted to get so he says that, and then he also so basically that the belief has no effect, right?
Right.
But in Warhammer 40K, belief is just a thing.
Nuns sometimes don't get hit by bullets because they think Big E protects them, and it works.
Yeah, if you are a psychic species, pretty much of any capacity, not that you yourself are a psyker or anything,
but your species is capable of making those.
Then you influence the warp with your emotions, and then belief is a big part of that. Your beliefs strongly influence your emotions. This is a whole thing. And I swear to God, he talks about this in his own videos. Just last week, he talked about Tau Va, the goddess of the Tau that got accidentally created because they have too many humans and other psychic species.
Oh, wow. I didn't know about that.
That's a thing.
Sick.
There's a forming. It's not a proper god yet, but it's real powerful.
Because of the Guevesa.
Yeah.
That makes sense. That makes sense. They believe in the greater good, so they're manifesting a greater good deity in the warp. That makes perfect sense. That's fucking cool. I didn't know about that. See, this is lore I'm not privy on. I know a lot about 40k before 8th edition. Everything past this, the Secret X Maledictum or whatever, ever since that happened, I don't know jack shit. But like a lot of stuff before that, like the Third War for Armageddon, like stuff like that, I know that pretty intimately. But yeah.
I mean, I have like a tertiary knowledge of Warhammer stuff. I'm absolutely happy to be the one for you to make this argument too. Please.
Well, I love it. I love hearing it.
So it's like that's one of the confusing parts. That's just generally known. I feel like you know that
it's part of the setting. It's like inherent to both the game and the setting.
Yeah, like the Eldar.
If
maybe
emotions
made their gods, you know.
If beliefs didn't matter, then Tzeentch wouldn't happen, and also no chaos corruption would ever happen.
Well,
why would one group that like exists not also have that as like a factor?
Well, so the Tau didn't make the god because the Tau are basically like
they're all blanks basically.
Yeah.
They don't
Not quite,
negate
but
the warp. They just don't really. They have like the weakest like flicker of a presence in like of like soul
like
stuff.
They have to outsource others like other species for psychers for warp travel, or use like AI to the computated. They can't do true like warp travel like the Imperium does. That's why the Tau Empire can't expand very fast, because they can only go like expand so slowly directly outwards. They can't really do long distance jumps without like outsourcing that technology from other species,
which obviously you can't do in mass to
and then it's just not reliable. Like you can't run an empire that way.
Yeah,
that's how they first encountered the Tau Va, was because they tried to make a like halfway warp engine, and it like worked, but it just kind of threw them into the warp. And then they were about to get killed by demons, and then Tau Va showed up and was just like, "I'll save you." To which the Tau were like horrified. They're just like, "What the fuck? You created a god? Like that's."
We're big atheists here. You're not supposed to do that.
So
bunga bunga.
I bring that up because, yeah, the standard thing your average Joe guy will tell you about orcs is just like, oh, their technology works because of belief, and it's not that it just works because of belief. It's just their belief helps.
My interpretation, based off of something I feel like I read, but I'm not going to say I read it because it's something I feel like I read. It may have just been a fabricated memory in my brain. This happens a lot. I've been reading more 40k stuff for fucking 2 decades.
yeah.
But I remember hearing a thing that, like, if someone else picked up an orc's gun, it would probably jam almost immediately. But if the orc picked up the gun, basically the psychic gestalt helps grease the mechanisms of the weapon so that it actually functions properly. All their technology is functioning technology, but it is ramshackled. So it only functions at like a high capacity, at like a usable capacity for them because of their psychic presence.
Yeah,
that is what I understand.
Right. Like the gun has a 1% chance of being able to work, and that like is like the platonic ideal of that gun, and the gestalt helps hold it all in that place.
Yeah,
that's the general idea.
Yeah.
Because like in my mind, the biggest part of it is that like they're making things out of trash.
Yeah,
literally.
Which I can't stress that enough. Like if anyone thinks like I'm like harping on about that, but it's just like, no, think about that.
They don't make things. They don't have a forge or like a smelter.
Well, they like do, but they've somehow made that with a pile of like sheet metal.
They made it out of trash.
It's insane.
They made a forge out of an oven, and then like some fucking like
a leaf blower or some shit.
A leaf blower, just cobbled some shit together.
And so it's like, yes, they can turn that into like functioning technology, but you got to imagine, like, no matter how good they are, like it's got to have some really fucking bad flaws in there because it's made of garbage.
Yeah.
So that little extra, that duct tape or that makes it not jam as much. Your triggers.
Yeah, it's like psychic duct tape to just make that bitch work. Like otherwise, it would fall. It wouldn't fall apart, but it wouldn't do the job that it's doing. It wouldn't be in fighting shape to take a fucking planet. That's for fucking sure. Like, the guard couldn't take a planet with the Orks' weapons.
Let me run something by you guys. So there's a scene in John Wick, I think it's number 2, where he is like cornered in like an antique shop, and he like busts out like a display case, and he like takes all of like the antique like revolvers, and he's like taking them apart to find like which pieces work, and then like jamming them all together and like listening to the cylinder click to like try to just get like one shot off. And obviously everyone who's like knows anything about guns sees that, and they're like, that wouldn't work at all. It would explode in your hands. Those pieces don't just, this isn't Legos. That scene is like orc magic at work. It does all fit together, and it does hold a bullet, and it only needed to fire once, but it shouldn't have fired at all. It probably.
But the Ork, yeah, would have blasted that
Orc,
guy.
Wow!
Yeah.
It'd only be one Daka. It wouldn't be Daka, but it would be a Daka.
Yeah.
There's examples of this. Like if I'm remembering correctly, there's a Kane novel. I think I brought it up.
It might have been in a Kane novel.
They fix up like
okay.
orc vehicle and are driving it, and then but Kane notes that it breaks down like often, like and the orcs don't seem to be having this problem.
There you go. That's one. That's one.
It's not an explicit statement, but
It's implied.
yeah, it's there.
And GW loves doing that shit.
Yep.
And so, before I really get into that argument, let me hit you with something else, because this one also kind of annoys me. Because every lore tuber just accepts this out of hand, and they're all the ones I like to follow seem pretty good about like sources and shit. And it's that everyone takes for granted that the Old Ones created the Orks. Show me where it says that.
I haven't seen it.
Is there any source for that?
No.
Any like source of a character
It does not
theorizing?
explicitly state that they were the Old Ones.
I think the Eldar, there's an Eldar thing that states that like they're the product of, like, it implicates it, but it's not explicit. I've never explicitly read it either. I've just heard the implication.
So, where we start with that one, right, is because personally, maybe it's out there. I don't know. I don't have access to every piece of material, obviously.
Yeah.
But in everything I've looked at, I've never seen it definitively stated that the Old Ones created the Orks. The Orks call their creators, they know they are created, that part is true, the Brain Boyz. And they have legends about them. That's about it. The Brain Boyz were the legendary, in earlier codexes, it notes them as being a caste of greenskin. Doesn't sound like a space reptile lizard man, which is what the old ones were. And this is really weird, okay? So, in the first codex, it establishes the Brain Boyz, right? Mm-hmm. And you can take this or leave this. You can argue it in different ways, because it gets more and more vague as it goes on. But in the first one, the Brain Boyz were snotlings.
The little guys?
Mm-hmm. Really?
Oh.
The ones smaller than Gretchen.
Yeah.
Oh.
Really?
So, the story in that one goes that I should also note that in the first edition into second, I think, orcs are not fungus yet.
Right.
They're symbiotic with fungus. They themselves are not fungus.
They're like an animal that lives with fungus.
They don't grow out of fungus. In the first codex, they're marsupials, basically.
Yeah, you explained this.
Yeah, they develop.
They go into the wild and they get a little like flesh stack, and a guy comes down and they raise it. Mm-hmm. It's a very silly.
You did
system.
describe that, and I sort of blocked that out, I suppose.
Very silly concept.
So, the snotlings, it says in that one that they cultivate, because snotlings are the ones that grow fungus. Yeah. Like, that's their role in orc society. But apparently these ones accidentally found a type of mushroom that caused them to have like explosive like brain development. And so over time they cultivated this mushroom, and then created or bred or whatever you want to call it, the orcs to be their servants.
Because they were just a natural tiny species that were like, we need to make big guys.
So they made them as like warriors / servants.
Yeah.
And then in the original one, it says that, but the orcs were then tasked to pick the fungus, and then they were sneaking bites. Basically, they were eating some of it.
Right.
But the snotlings didn't know that's what made them intelligent, so they didn't really care.
Right.
And then over time, the orcs got more intelligent, and to the point that they revolted and then overthrew the snotlings.
Yeah.
And then they cut off the snotling supply of the mushroom, and then they degraded back to being snotlings because the orcs, being lazy, didn't cultivate the fungus, and it went extinct.
Huh.
Okay, so and that's in the first edition book, the Rogue Trader book. There are massive implications on this because I've heard the Brain Boyz thing, but I never heard that the Brain Boyz were the were snotlings. That's crazy implication.
Then it gets less and less like definitive as the editions go on, but it still mentions it.
That's crazy.
So then the next one, it says that the snotlings, it has the same basic little thing. It just doesn't go into as much detail. It's that like the snotlings are theorized to probably be like degenerate remnant of the fabled caste of greenskin called Brain Boyz. And then they used to rule the orcs, and then it was reversed. Then you get into editions after that, and now it becomes more like an actual like legend as it's presented, and then it's this is the myth told by the Runherds, the legend of the Brain Boyz, and then that they were this caste of greenskins that were smaller than orcs, but they created them to be their warriors, and then they died out for some reason. Maybe it was a plague. Maybe the orcs like killed them or something. They don't know.
That's crazy.
Where did Old One come up in any of that? Huh?
No, it's a causal leap of they're the Brain Boyz, the big brain, because they're the old ones. They're smart.
They were the people who created life. They weren't the only ones.
But how does that fit in with Krorks?
So, I do have a tinfoil hat way to spin it all together.
Hit me with it,
because
please.
we'll get there.
Okay.
But I brought that up because it's just that's so like taken for granted that's just how it is.
Yeah.
Like if you Google search right now,
like
the Google AI will give you a summary that says that the
Old Ones made them.
Yeah, the Old Ones made them. They were made to fight the Necron. Blah 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 blah. I've never seen it stated anywhere. So if it's out there, someone please point me in that direction. I would love to see it because I do have an argument for how the Old Ones could be involved, but it's kind of wooey woo. It's a stretch.
Right.
That's just stitching everything together. But so I hope that demonstrates, things that are commonly accepted are just incorrect or just not
strictly the
not confirmed or stated to be false.
And I mean, confirming anything in the Warhammer universe is
it's
messy.
Difficult. Yes,
yeah, it's
this is definitely this is like one of the largest causal leaps known to man. I'm about to bring up here.
Hit me with it.
But you said that the Gretchen cultivated a mushroom that made them smart, and then that made them
snotlings.
Snotlings. And then the snotlings got smart enough and advanced enough to be able to create the orcs. And then the orcs started sneaking bites of that mushroom, which made them super smart.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what made them be able to be the Krorks. And then basically whatever happened to the mushroom made them devolve again.
So the War in Heaven narrative doesn't really show up in the first few.
Right.
Oh, okay.
It certainly really wasn't written yet.
Yeah, it wasn't fleshed out or anything.
Yeah, okay.
So that doesn't come up. Anytime it does, it's just really vague,
Yeah.
There's not really an explanation. I can try to make an argument, but it would be it's just my personal feeling on I think this would make sense. So from there, I would like to provide examples of why I think the WA field does affect orc technology. There's not many examples of the usual idea, basically what we've been saying, how many times has it been shown in a book that so a guy picks up an orc thing and it doesn't work for him, but he then gives it to an orc and it works. I have one. I have one example of this. And unfortunately, it comes from the War of the Beast, which does establish quite a few things, but I don't like it. It's not that great. However, this comes from Predator Prey, the second book in the Beast Arises series. And it's, for context, it's Mechanicus guys, and they're studying the orc corpses and then like the technology, because they're trying to figure out why these orcs got so big and how they're suddenly so advanced.
Yeah.
So he's examining a brain at one of the orc cadavers. Codex turned and snapped on a hololithic projector that enveloped the monstrous brain in a flexing field representation. "What is that?" the artisan asked. "Honestly," the Magos said, "I don't know. I happened upon the frequency by accident. This is the barest manifestation of it, I can tell you that. It has been fading since biological cessation. If you had to make an informed guess, Magos? Some kind of field or emanation," Codex said. "It seems to be coming from deep within the brain structure. Again, an evolutionary ancient feature." Psychic field. So it's there.
And he
right?
died, so it's fading, yeah.
And a little bit later, this is like a couple paragraphs later, same book, same scene. Codex directed a pair of servitors into the foil tent. Between them, they carried an alien weapon, some kind of barbaric chopping implement sporting a chain of revolving teeth like a chainsword. A brute motor was built into its ungainly shaft, the handle of which was scored with primitive glyphs and graffiti. The Magos directed the drones to slip the savage weapon into the beast's death-stiffened grip, and lay the great shaft of the weapon in its murderous headpiece across the greenskin's open and organ-excavated chest. "What are you doing?" Van Auken asked, as Codex directed a servomat to attach power couplings to the weapon's monstrous motor. "Magos?" "Clear," Codex said, before instructing the servomat to supply power to the weapon from its own core. The serrated chain of the chopper roared to life, the clunky machinery of its motor squealing and crunching, the gore of the Emperor's angel spraying Van Auken from the monstrous weapon's thrashing teeth. The artisan stepped back and wiped the speckles of old blood from his face. "Turn it off," he commanded. "As you wish," Codex said, selecting an autopsy cleaver with a monomolecular edge from a rack of similarly macabre tools. Swinging the cleaver down with force, the Magos chopped at the hulking wrist of the greenskin. It took a number of strikes, with the cleaver blade biting through flesh and bone. With a final strike, the claw hand was separated from the meat of the arm, and the weapon chugged, bucked, and died. Van Auken stepped back towards the creature with fresh interest. "It still has power." "The problem isn't power," Codex assured the artisan Primus. "The weapon has suffered a malfunction, which isn't surprising given the poor quality of its construction and maintenance. I fear that this field, swiftly depleting and dissipating after death, in some way aids the crude workings of such creations." Now, he then goes to say, "This is just my speculation. Other magi could come to different conclusions." But he does say that this is his hypothesis.
And his evidence.
Yeah.
And it's pretty compelling.
That's where I probably heard it from then, because that sounds literally the gun literally rattled apart when he stopped being fired by him.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there you go. I don't know. That's pretty.
So now
pretty damning.
That doesn't confirm anything.
Pretty compelling,
but it supports, right? Like it supports the idea.
Yeah.
And so, in that respect, like, if you just accept that belief has power, right?
Yeah.
So, a big thing of the orcs, like, I went over this. They're capable of believing multiple
truths,
objective truths at the same time with no problem.
Yeah.
So, in my mind, and they don't experience, like, most of the negative emotions other races experienced. Like,
they're not scared to die. That's not part of it for them.
Virtually all the emotions they experience, they see as a good thing.
Yeah.
So all that combined, and they produce their own psychic power, which they are aware of. I have quotes that they do feel it or are aware of it. And the Wa does affect them on a mental and physical level.
Right.
So
it whips them up, and it fucking actually makes everybody stronger.
Yeah. And so if it affects everything else, from their mentality to their bodies, like their emotions, like,
why wouldn't it?
Like, literally everything, like, why wouldn't it at least have some part in their technology? Doubly so if they believe that's the case.
Yeah.
Out of hand, an orc will assume usually a mech boy knows what he's talking about, or if like if he trusts ex mech boy or whatever, like, or if he's known as like the best mech boy around or whatever, he just assumes it's just like, yeah, well, he's gonna have the best stuff. He's known as the best guy,
which will make that guy better.
which should make his stuff a little bit better.
Yeah.
It's really, I don't think it's that crazy. Like, it's not as if they're conjuring things from like nothingness,
Yeah.
Which Eldar used to do that. Why is it such a big deal?
Yeah, no, I think it's an issue of hyperbole, where it's like, oh yeah, like you couldn't. I remember like one time someone's like, you could put like a few batteries in a tin can, and you could point it at someone and it would fire, because Ork Psychic just works as they think it does. Like, no, that's not how that works.
No,
it's how we said it's functional technology. It's just ramshackle. And their psychic field greases the wheels so things don't fucking fall apart. It's a functional weapon. They can actually attack planets with it instead of losing instantly.
Yeah,
because they're fighting with tin cans and shit.
This is very compelling evidence, Mario. Your arguments
haven't even gotten into my several pages of other quotes.
Oh my goodness.
But so I talked about last time Talker, the Mad Boy.
Yes. Talker's goat.
And I said a few of his quotes.
Yeah.
And he's got a few more, but I do want to go over this one. So I said this one already. Caution must be taken when interfacing ionic technologies, especially those that originate with alien species whose consciousness wavelengths are incompatible with the psychically motivated etheric generators of the Krork. That sounds like, to me, psychic energy has something to do with, something technological.
Yeah. It sounds like the ethereal generators of the Krork are the source of the Ork Gestalt, which has placed them on a separate wavelength from us regular dum-dums who are connected to the warp.
And pretty much. And then there's also, he says there's another one from him that's real good. This is one I said I thought I had last time, and I found it. This is audio drama too, so it's the character Snickgob, and then Talk Snickgob. But them other ones who look even more like tin boys, they isn't robots either. They're beakies, Yumis, biggins. Inside all that get up, they're the biggest, strongest, meanest Yumis you ever did see. That armor, that's armor. But I've never seen that kind before. They is even bigger than the usual lot. Talker. Caution is advisable, Mechaniac. This camp is a source for the false Wa energies. We have to suspect a generator of some sort that taps into the Krorkian psychosphere.
The false Wa energies?
Yeah, so in that story, the Mechanicus have plugged a weird boy into some machine, and it's generating false Wa energy. So it's causing the Orks to like go into a frenzy.
Oh wow, okay. Well, there you go. Well, there you fucking go.
Well, it's just so.
I mean, the psychic gestalt of the Orks isn't something that we can argue against.
This is
that's factual.
Yeah.
This is all that's reinforcing that, but it's also that regularly, like the energies can be manipulated too with tech. Like they do that pretty often.
Yeah, this is a science. It's not wizardry.
Yeah. So, to me, that all together, like I have so many more things, but just that right there, the one belief all the other races have it, they do it. The Orks made their own gods too, from their own fucking belief.
Yeah, 2 of them.
Yeah, presumably the Eldar did too. The Emperor is basically a god at this point.
Yeah.
So if belief works, Orks are some of the most religious ever, and
they have 100% like church attendance.
And if an Ork believes something, chances are you can't convince him otherwise.
Yeah,
they're not rational most of the time. Like rationality is like
a weakness,
subjective for Orks. So that to me would make their psychic power, especially considering they make it themselves. Like and they don't need to pull it from the warp. So I don't know if I'm like articulating it correctly, but to me that just makes it seem as though their belief would have as strong, if not stronger, effects than other races.
Yeah, because they're so much easier. You know, I often say that faith is the opposite of reason. And so because orcs are not very reasonable creatures, they would be very faithful in that sense.
So
they have a lot of faith in that they're going to win this fight. They got a lot of faith in they're going to get bigger.
I brought this up last time too, that I've never seen an explanation for if orcs have a special way to fight demons. They just fight them.
yeah.
And in the same vein, think about orc like weaponry and their armor. It looks like it's made out of garbage. What is that material? Some kind of metal.
Can sheet metal chop through a demon? Yeah.
Presumably it's steel or iron or something. They've made it, but somehow this competes with like Terminator plate. Their weapons can pierce ceramite. Their bullets pierce ceramite. How could it do that if it's just like plain old steel?
You know, I never thought about it like that. Yeah, if when a choppa cuts into a fucking Space Marine's abdomen and bifurcates that motherfucker, and that chopper was made out of some steel shit they found.
Yeah.
Yeah, that shouldn't work that way.
It couldn't
work that way. I never once thought about that. That's funny.
Even the quote I just read about the guy, he takes a monomolecular edged cleaver that he just has as a surgical implement. That's what other races are bringing to the table. And orcs' weapons just cling, just hit right.
Yeah,
you know?
It just needs to be the right shape, and they'll start strapping it to shit.
Boss, I got this frying pan, and I flattened it out to make a chopper. It'll do.
So this is the same thing where
painted egg on the side.
It's like, sure, you could argue that like, well, the mech boys have all this crazy knowledge that they don't even understand themselves. Maybe they made some sort of super metal. Maybe.
Yeah.
Why can't it just be fucking psychic? Isn't that just as reasonable?
I mean, no, explicitly, that isn't what happens. That's not how looting works, which is like a whole aspect of their...
I mean, that they could, like, smelt it into some other material or some shit, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
But probably they don't do that.
No.
So, either that or just their which it's still belief, their faith in their gods is what lets them fuck up demons at least. But that doesn't explain, like... beating the shit out of Space Marines with sometimes like what amounts to like a lead pipe.
All right, let me throw a theory you guys' way about how I believe the Warhammer 40,000 universe functions.
Interrupting real quick. One of the Warbiker models quite literally has a lead pipe. So
and
there you go.
Impossibly, I bet he's killing Space Marines.
It's
with
a pipe, but let's be real. We know what they're referencing. Continue.
But my theory for how the Warhammer universe works. So, psychically active species are all essentially interacting with a field that exists in the universe. And because they're all interacting with it, they're all, like, influencing it, and that made the warp. Because that's just what everybody's thinking. It's everybody in the universe who is psychic, whether or not we can get to them, or even conceivably before the end of time could get to the other side of the universe to see this other species. All of them. Everybody in the universe who's psychically active feeds into the warp, which is why it's so goddamn weird. And evil and demony. Orcs, from the sounds of it, what happened was they were the species that actually figured out the science of the psychosphere, the field that is psychicness, and they thought what we should do is definitely not be on the public Wi-Fi anymore because it's full of viruses and monsters. Because
there's demonic possessions and there's enslavers,
and being so advanced that they like figured out like the concept of the psychosphere, they built their own, and unfortunately, this is the next level of technology. This is technology immaterial. They no longer have need to, like, build a gleaming city. Their species is perfect. They figured it out.
On an evolutionary level, yeah.
They've fully finished, and that's why the only way to go was down from Krork to a degenerate, like, you know.
They reached the top, and so they just evolved.
Yeah.
I buy that.
Their technology became immaterial.
I have my own thoughts on that, but so also just to reinforce that the WA does stuff to orcs. So I have some quotes here from the the engine of Mork. And this is Awa is building, and the mechs are building a Gargant. They're building a Stampa, which
they love building.
The mech later names Fat Mork.
Fat Mork.
That's a good name.
So the energy is building, and they can all feel it. The mechs worked through the night, feverish with more than the jungle heat. The call to Wa was growing stronger. Other orcs were fighting and carousing, waiting for the time when the need to move would send them spilling out of their hovels toward their ships. Not the mechs. Not any of the odd boys. A switch was thrown in the heads of them all. Docs, runherds, mechs, and the rest, sending them to the heights of activity. So it influences them to start creating, but then the lead mech.
They also can feel some kind of anticipation when it's coming.
Yeah, which it makes them want to. That's one of the biggest reasons they go and just are in a rush to get in a fight, because it's like they have literal pent up energy. So this is the head mech of this little trio, and he's deciding that maybe he doesn't want to be bossed around anymore by a different clan, some Death Skulls. His mind was a whirl, his instinctive grasp of technology bubbling up into his mind to pop in bright bursts of inspiration. He could not articulate what he knew, nor did he, if truth be told, really understand it. He just knew. His fingers worked without him thinking, putting together machines he didn't fully understand. The others were the same, toiling happily in isolation with little speech, all of them heading in the same direction. But that's odd boys for you. Odd. So, is it directly stating it has an influence on the technology? No, but it does seem like he's getting supercharged in, like, that is giving him more knowledge.
Yes.
And you can expand, all of them working in the same direction. If they're building a Gargant, like, that means they don't have blueprints. Like, no one's, like, telling them to, like, okay, you have to build the leg.
Yeah, there's no orc foreman.
One guy's just putting shit together, and he just happens to be building the leg. And then another guy's like, okay, well, I'm building the kneecap, but he doesn't know that. He's just doing it. And then he's like, oh, this part fits here. And he's like, oh, look at that. There you go.
I feel like there's some level of, and you get over there. But, like,
the back boss,
they don't
for sure.
really need to be doing that. Everyone is, as soon as you're like, get over there, you in your head are like, of course, I need to bring this over to finish the knee.
Yeah.
Even though you didn't know that's why you had that big metal plate.
Yeah, the big one just told you to do that, and then your WA Gestalt just fucking kicked in, and you filled in the gaps. I'd buy that. Yeah, I'd buy that.
So, and then specifically I have a bit from the same story where, in my mind, this lends itself to my argument that the WA field has some influence, because this scenario, I don't give a fuck how good you are at, like, engineering or something. This is silly. So this is they've finished their Gargant.
Fat more.
And yeah, and you're stomping around. He's gonna go blow up the dick who's been bossing them around.
We's gonna step on him. Yeah.
And they don't have, like, a radio. It's just a tube that, like, goes down to the belly of the Gargant. Ugram bellowed down the tube. The tertiary plasma overflow conduit looks like it's about to overload, he said, using the special mech words they sometimes used, but none of them properly understood. Bosgat glanced at the gubbins in question. Bits of it glowed red hot. He didn't think they should be doing that. Yeah. It was probably bad.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, he said. Don't yeah me, called the newly elevated Big Mech. Fix it. Couple of nails should sort it right out. Bosgat ducked his way through the crowded reactor room and made a grot hold the nails in place. He ignored the whimpering and smell of roasting runt as he slammed the nails in with 2 blows apiece from his number 4 hammer. He stood back as the metal lost its color. This is a fusion reactor, by the way.
Why would nailing it help?
Well, they made it work, so,
There's also a bit, like, just before that where it notes that he's down there and occasionally banging on stuff with his correction hammer.
The correction hammer is very important to real science.
So he's in there just like bang, dang, dang, and somehow that's working.
Just doing, like,
incredibly advanced instinctual knowledge.
He's just doing crafting animations from, like, Skyrim and stuff.
Which, speaking of, I have another quote about that. The leg of the Gargant gets damaged. They get attacked by Tau. They kill them, and then immediately he and his friend Mech are just like, shit, we got to fix the leg. So they start doing that. Mechs work fast. Ork know what's running their veins, part of their blood. They didn't think as they patched, hammered, welded, and nailed, calming their evil little son and putting it back to work. That's what they call the fusion reactor. They don't call it a fusion. They just said we need a little son.
We need a little son.
And to them, that means fusion reactor.
For a moment, I thought it was little son, as in they're like, that's my boy.
Yeah, he's a little boy.
Yeah.
And then so Snickgob set his burner from burn to cut. Hot knife of fire slipped swiftly through the buckled plates of fat Mork that dragged against the idol's foot. 5 minutes it took. 5 minutes. Outside in the fury and holler of it all to free the foot. The Stomper was taking a massive amount of fire, but the shields held and none of it got through. They fixed it in 5 minutes. A hole was blown in the side of this leg.
And somehow cutting into it with a welder.
Well, it's like the joints were jammed, and so it's like they just like cut it out, but then and they just patch it up real quick, and then we're good.
5 minutes. 5-minute job for the boys.
And then that's basically how, like, that story in particular, that's how, like, it ends, basically. They get in after they're done, and then they're just like, are we winning? And then the other Ork looks around. He's like, I don't know. Doesn't matter. And they're just like, not really. Let's go fight.
Let's keep it going.
Yeah.
Da Thunder will roll.
God, so good.
So,
I mean,
to me, it's a little suspect fixing, a fusion reactor with a metal plate and some nails.
Hey, man, you gotta make what we got.
If you're like a physicist of some kind or like a super engineer man and you can explain how that might work, please do. I can't claim to know that it would or would not, but I doubt it would.
Yeah, it does not sound very fusion reactor-y.
I don't know. Maybe some argument about like the zinc on the galvanite. No. None of it.
If he nailed the nail at the proper angle with the proper alloys involved, yeah, I don't.
Absolutely not.
Yeah, no.
It was melting down.
Yeah, it really was.
So, let's see. Then from there, let's see.
So I'd like to make an addendum to my theory of the Warhammer universe. It might be more accurate to say that Orks, the species, the Psychic Gestalt, are the actual race of Orks, because the bodies are incidental. They make the bodies and they inhabit the bodies, and then they die and they go back to Gork and Mork, they feel. And that's just returning to and from the Psychic Gestalt, which is just they're like an ascended race, like the fucking glowy guys in Stargate.
Yeah, that's an interesting theory.
That's how the Eldar basically used to work.
Yeah, well, the Orks are still rolling it out, and they're still beating ass while they do it.
Which, speaking of the afterlife thing, so I don't know. It doesn't really like have anything to do with the whole technology thing. But as far as like connecting it back to belief, so the Orks were created by the Brain Ones, who possibly could have been the Old Ones. Maybe they were Snotlings.
Right.
Orks also believe they were created by Gork and Mork.
Right.
Is there a problem here? Not for Orks there isn't, because they can believe both those things and be just fine. And on top of that, so the warp is real screwy, right? Mm-hmm. So everyone will, if you're discussing Slaanesh, right? So Slaanesh was birthed by the Eldar.
Right.
Yeah.
They had too big of an orgy on Eldar.
Yeah, and it involved a lot of murder too. And then they created Slaanesh. It was born. Slaanesh was birthed, but then because of the nature of the warp that does not flow in linear time,
right?
Slaanesh then therefore existed throughout all time.
Yeah.
In the same vein, we're not sure when, or at least I'm not. Maybe if there's a statement out there, someone send it my way of when Gork and Mork were made.
Yeah.
Did it have something to do with the Brain Boyz? Did the Orks just eventually do that after they devolved? Regardless, once Gork and Mork were created, now they've always existed.
Yeah.
So perhaps, they did indeed create the Orks, but not the Krork.
No, that's an interesting point.
That's just I don't have anything really to support that. But as far as
we're also allowed to do theories too.
Yeah, speculation's fun.
So and then this is from Gazgul Thraka, Prophet of the Wa, where Gazgul's dead.
This is during one of those times.
Well, he's had his head cut off, and so
Often fatal.
important to note in this book is basically mostly a recounting from Makari, or a Grot claiming to be Makari, and he seems to be doing a good job of convincing them. But this scene in particular is a psychic vision that Makari is somehow able to trigger because he has a little necklace, like amulet, that Gazgul made for him out of the bolter shell that blew off his head.
Aw.
Aw,
And
wholesome.
That's so sweet.
Yeah, it acts as like a psychic, like, beacon, I guess.
Yeah, it's like a lodestone. It always leads them back to each other.
So using that, he's able to show her what happened, and so it's like it's literally from Gazgul's perspective. So now, how much of it can you trust? Who knows? But the Space Wolf, this Inquisitor who's interrogating him with, also did some Space Wolf shaman ritual shit and ripped psychic visions out of him, and that was the instance just before these visions. So if you trust those ones, I think you should trust Makari's, plus he hasn't lied the entire time.
Also, there's no evidence to support
Anyway.
that they know how to fake psychic visions.
Which, yeah, like, how do you even do that?
Yeah.
So this is Gazgul basically after he's been beheaded, and his head is being held up by Ragnar Blackmane. I look out over the Orks, and with the last of my strength, I break into a grin. Shit, sorry, I lost my place. No, come back.
The fickleness of the laptop. We look like fools now.
Okay.
All of our arguments.
All right. Sorry, so sorry. I hit my
Free
keyboard by
falling
accident.
in credibility.
So it's I looked out over the Orks, and with the last of my strength, I broke into a grin, a great snarl of triumph, like the gash you've carved across the sky, so that they know they are winning. That is all they need. If the Horde believes we're winning, we will keep winning. They will believe it because I believe it, and I believe it because you believe in me. You being Gorkamork in this case.
Yeah.
Is this a definitive statement of any kind? No, but Gazgul seems to believe it.
Believe it, yeah.
I like that. That's wholesome.
He's
Very
certainly
shonen.
made it part of his strategy. He made it his last thing that he did as a strategic choice, not just as like a choice of faith.
Yeah, which then it goes into another psychic vision, which is from Makari's perspective. And then that's him going with Doc Grotsnik to finish bringing Gazgul back to life. And then there's another Gazgul moment where he comes back to life. Oh man, there was another one too. I don't know if I wrote that one. Oh, okay. Yeah. This is actually, I think it might be before the one I just said. He's dying and he's just reflecting. Mm-hmm. So this is death, is it? I've had worse. I need not die. Not if I do not will it. My enemies did not die when I took their heads, nor when I took them again. Not because they were tough, because you did not will it. Because I did not will it. Now, I wish for death. If I did not, I would not bear this wound. When he's talking about cutting off heads, the story goes that when he was conquering the planet he was born on, he went around and one of the orcs he was trying to get on to his side, he cut off his head and he still wouldn't agree, so he put it back on and then cut it off again and then stuck it back on.
Have we learned our lesson yet?
And then he agreed.
What? Okay.
How's do you keep putting me back on and I'm fine? Do you agree or not? Yes, please, stop.
So how much of Gazgul not dying was him, the gods, and Grotsnik? Who can say?
Yeah.
But it seems like it all played a part. Particularly his belief that I'm not going to die. So
That's pretty... Yeah, okay.
And I have a bunch of stuff here from, like, supplementary stuff from like RPGs or like video games, and say what you want about that. I've heard the very, I'm going to call it a douchey phrase of the hierarchy of sources, which is, if you're of the opinion that it should be a thing, I don't agree with you. Sorry.
What is it?
Some sources
are better than others.
Will like automatically take precedence over others. So because it's from like an RPG or something,
video game, it's not as
it's
canon.
less valid.
Okay.
Is the idea?
I can see that being a very like necessary thing for like, because different games have different mechanics. You need to have like a hierarchy of like, well, how powerful is a las gun? Well, we need to go with the numbers from the lore, because if we take it as like, oh, it does this a little bit more damage than getting shot by a regular gun, it can't be like whatever it says in the lore. But that's not,
I agree in that sense.
But otherwise, like, the universe is a universe. There's the things that count, like, everything needs to count in its own way, relative to its own work, is my opinion. And when you have like a universe that isn't like a single storyteller's like vehicle, like something like Warhammer is like so many cooks.
Yeah, so many authors in there.
So many authors in there. Having a hierarchy, I guess, like makes like some amount of sense for like needing to believe everything consistent in that way.
So the way I like to take material is that so long as something that's been written down has not been like expounded upon, or like they've shifted on it in like a newer source material, I consider you can still make an argument that is valid, that is still canon.
If it hasn't come up again, then like there's nothing to say like that's wrong.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
So, some people don't agree with that, whatever. I've heard some people say codexes take precedence over, like, novels and stuff, and I'm just take it all together. Come on.
Yeah. I've heard that one as well.
It's a big gumbo.
Yeah.
We got to sample all of it,
There's a lot to go
There's
around.
a lot of floating bits. So I was going to get into those, but we're running out of time, so I wanted to get into the quotes from the new Mad Doc Grotsnik book, which are pretty bananas. And this is also a very different version of Grotsnik. He's in that Gaskell book, The Prophet of the Wa. He's very different, though. Like, he's kind of just like a malicious dick in that one. And in this one, he's like properly insane. So he has like two personalities, and he's constantly talking to himself, and his like voice changes when he does it. And then it's his reflection he's talking to.
Classic.
And it's like a weird, warped, like ghostly look, like a ghoul of an orc, like no eyes, and
it's a real Green Goblin situation.
And and that's just like his alter ego. And he's also constantly slicing out bits of his brain, and
he just thinks that's what he looks like.
He doesn't know what he looks like.
There's a Family Guy bit about this.
Yeah, it's what's his name?
Oh my god.
Gary Busey.
It was Gary
Where
Busey.
he looks in the mirror and he's like, "How am I doing today, Gary Busey?" And it's like a clown with snakes for hair and giant shark teeth with claws, and it just holds up its thumb like, "We're doing great!" And he's like, "Good."
Yeah, that's Grotsnik.
Pretty much. And he's also constantly slicing out bits of his brain and putting in other people's bits of brain. And
don't do that.
He's getting their memories and also their like knowledge, like their skills. It's very interesting.
What's he doing with the pieces of his brain?
Obviously, spoiler warning. I kind of already did, but the whole point is he's making that orc thing, the gene stealer artificial thing, and so I don't fully get the brain thing, honestly. Like, it's a pretty wild book. There's a lot of stuff that is, because he's insane, is left up to like, what do you mean by that? Yeah. But the bits of that he's putting in his brain and like all throughout the book are he calls it they haven't ripened yet, and they haven't gone bad, and so it's like his brain is like rotting the whole time, and he's constantly having bits of it like cut out So he's constantly forgetting things too, and then like mixing up whose memories it is that he's remembering at the time. He's
Holy shit.
This is a properly
The ship of Theseus himself.
Yeah. No, he posits the ship of Theseus to the other main orc of the story, and but he doesn't. He uses a different example.
Right. We ain't never heard of Theseus, you see.
So the whole point for everything he's doing was he was building that big orc because it's established early in the book. He and Gazgul had like a bit of a spat, and Gazgul ripped off his arm because he got real mad at him.
Man, got his ass.
Now let that be a lesson to you.
And so Gazgul or Grotsnik the whole time is like, when he talks to himself, he's just like talking mad shit about Gazgul. He's just like, we made him, like he should be ours, like
yeah.
But then he'll switch and just be like, nah, he's the warlord of the warlord, like he's chosen by the gods, and he's just like, you're weak. Like it's pretty great. Like his dialogue with himself is very fun.
That's just the Green Goblin voice in my head.
Yeah,
exactly.
But
100%.
so at the end of it, he confronts Gazgul, and then the whole point was he's gonna sick his beastie on him and bloody his nose, or he's trying to kill him, I guess, but at the same time not.
I mean, death doesn't have the same consequence for orcs.
No, which interestingly, Grotsnik basically rolls up. He's standing on top of his pain wagon, which is like his custom like transport that doubles as a
pain wagon.
Doubles as his surgery room. And so he's standing on top of that.
He does his surgeries in a van.
Yeah.
The best surgeon the orcs have.
Closer to a bus, I'm assuming.
He's just talking mad shit to Gazgul. He calls him pup.
Oh.
Regularly. Like he says it a lot. And then he's just like, I brought you back from the dead. Twice! Like, and Gazgul's just like, you didn't do that. The gods did that. To which Grotsnik says, the gods? Grotsnik laughed. The gods? You think they made us? No, we made them. And I think you know that. I think you hide behind your title of prophet, but deep inside you know the truth. Gods are us. An ideal we brought into being because we knew it to be true. Orcs make gods, not the other way around. All except me. I am an orc who made himself a god.
Oh, man. Got his ass.
I mean, both of them seem to be quite chosen. Is there any possibility that they are Gork and Mork yet to be? Like, in time, they have not ascended to Gork and Mork, Grotsnik and Gazgul.
I mean, you could maybe, but I don't know. Like, there's like a fan theory that Gork and Mork are just like impossibly large orcs somewhere in space.
That's
Walking around, hanging out.
I don't think so. They're just gods, man.
Yeah.
Like, you know.
Yeah, they're in the warp. Dude, I like the cartoon cloud that sometimes beats up corn.
That's my favorite version of that.
In my head, he's like reading a newspaper. He's like, what?
So,
what? Oh no!
Yeah.
he's talking with this is the Gazgul's fighting his monster, and he's talking with the Beast Snaga, who's basically the main character of the book. Grotsnik actually really isn't the main character. Most of it's from the perspective of this Beast Snaga, Volton, and Grotsnik has cut off his arms and legs because he's going to use them for his next experiment. But he's also just got him like lashed on top with him so he can watch and just talk to him and be a dick. And then Volton says, watching the horrifying tyrannid weird orc monster, "What have you done?" Volton whispered. "Done?" Grotsnik asked, staring at him. "Why, I followed my calling. It once led to the creation of Gazgul. Now it leads somewhere else. That thing is not an orc." "You think Gazgul is?" Grotsnik hissed as the Titans grappled. "Maybe he was once, but no more. He's now a conduit to the green, a flesh vessel into which our collective psyche pools. He's just a bucket with holes, I might add, for he's leaking all over the place."
Oh, whoa. Implications on that one. That's a fucking doozy.
In this story, I wish I had time to like get into it. Gazgul is now like, they really gassed him the fuck up. Like, his first like appearance, it's from the perspective of Humans, it's a gene stealer. It's obvious it's a gene stealer cult. They're worshiping the Void Emperor, and it's like, we're not evil, but they think they're doing fine, as I think it's a hive city or just a city is being sieged, and they think like, okay, the walls are holding, like that'll definitely like hold back the orcs, and then it basically shifts, and it's like, and then it arrived. And it's describing Gazcool as like this monstrous like mountain of an orc who, while he like when he shows up, green lightning starts flashing in the sky, and his roar is like so loud it like hurts everyone's ears, and it gasses the orcs up. And then she's just like, oh, okay, well, he's way too big. There's no way he can scale the wall. It'll like crumble like under his weight, and he'll fall. Yeah. And she's like, all right. I was getting a little worried there. And then Gazcool just walks up and he just punches the wall away.
Good. Just punches that shit open.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, based.
Which I was wildly off on my estimate of how big Gazcool now is.
How big is he?
There's still no definitive proof, but a little bit like after the fight, basically, he walks up to Grotsnik, and Grotsnik is standing on top of his pain wagon. The fucking it's a big ass orc vehicle. He's a big orc, like, and he's still not eye level with Gazcool. He's like just slightly off. Gazcool's still towering.
Oh
over
wow!
Him. Oh
yeah.
man,
he's a tall boy.
Gazgo's like Krork sized, like dinosaur man.
Maybe. Very unclear. It's because I hate it. They never give fucking numbers. Like, give me an estimate at least.
The orcs definitely don't have a system.
Because they don't even say how big fucking Grotsnik or the Beast Snag. They're big.
Yeah, they don't have a system
like, God damn
measurement.
It.
They certainly, there's no orc saying the word meters.
So, and then another thing, in his fight, Gazcool's actually getting pretty beat up. Like, Grotsnik made a hell of a monster. It severed the power cablings on his mega armor, so his armor was like, he was literally just like swinging his armor, around, like it wasn't powering him anymore, and he was still stronger than it. But he does get like worn down, and eventually he has to like he puts his hand on a wall, to like rest for a second. And then they get into like basically a big grapple. The thing is spitting acid in his face, like it's like the whole thing. And then it tries to do it again, and then it goes from there. But it never reached him. Instead, the stream evaporated into whiffs of fog mere inches from his skin. No, that doesn't make sense, Grotsnik murmured. How is he doing that? Because he is Gazcool. No, the doc said, slipping the eyes of Mork back into place. It's because he is Degreen.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
The power is literally changing the material world to make him more powerful. Yeah.
Which, speaking of, so this one, really caught me off guard. Where is it?
From the sounds of it, Grotsnik, that's the surgeon, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Grotsnik has the clearest idea outside of the Weird Boys of like what's actually going on with the orcs. He just has like a more mythologized view because he's had to like come through like all of his learnings. I mean, they're like they have like surgeons in quotes and like engineers in quotes, but really they're like savages. They don't have like they don't have meters or like a measurement system or anything. They certainly wouldn't have like a scientific approach.
They have over there and over in this thing.
Yeah, they wouldn't have a scientific approach to understanding the psychic. They would do it in like the way that people who don't have these things do. They ascribe like magical like religion to it in a way. Mm-hmm. And I think genuinely the Ork psychosphere they literally as a species moved from like we no longer need material technology. Everything is psychic now, and all that's left of them now are just the orcs. And because they were such an effective organism before, even their cavemen that are only vaguely connected to the super psychic body of who they once were, they're still kicking ass and taking names.
The This one was pretty cool. This took me by surprise. I don't think this one counts as a Wa energy affecting technology. It does, but not that it makes it better. The Grand Warlord radiated burning green light, his roar growing ever louder, and the creature shriveled at his touch, withering its hideous screech almost a plea. Its cries were drowned out by the roar of Ghazghkull's armor powering back into life, green lightning knitting the cables together. Not that the Grand Warlord needed it, not now. He could have crushed an army in his claw, broken a continent with his footsteps. Ghazghkull lifted the screeching shadow creature above his head, his other hand clasping its leg. Then, with a final roar, he tore it in two, tossing the blackened fragments aside. The spray of blood boiling away, burned by his presence.
Oh, wow.
So Ghazghkull's on some other shit.
Yeah, he kind of went
Right
Super
now,
Saiyan
yeah,
there.
holy
Yeah.
fuck.
So, I think...
And it fixed his technology.
Yeah.
Like, explicitly, the Gestalt that powers him affected his technology. So it definitely does sometimes.
So, the last one I'll end on... Basically, Grotsnik has a quick conversation with the torso. And he's just like, see, he beat you. Like, none of your shit worked. And he's like, no, all of it worked. Like, I had him beat. Like, I kicked his ass. But then...
I was the superior fighter down there, and then he went Super Saiyan, a move that I was not aware was an option.
Yeah, and he was just like, but when he's beat, the green flows through him.
Yeah.
Like, he's a conduit. He's a bucket.
Yeah.
Like...
A bucket with holes in it.
Mm-hmm.
I like that.
And then the final note, which this also fucking came out of nowhere. I don't know where they're going to go with this. The Beastnaga has had a cloak this whole time, made out of the skin of what is the Drukhari horrible flesh monster things?
Grotesque?
Yes. It's made from... So he's a cloak made from grotesque skin because they got into a fight with... I think they call them creepy docs. I assume it's Dark
Yeah,
Eldar.
homunculus. That's funny.
And then they had a nice little crystal with them. So somehow they had a spirit stone on them. And he uses that as the clasps to hold his cloak together, just because it's shiny and he liked it.
Yeah.
So at the end of it, and Grotsnik keeps asking him about it, like throughout the book. And so this is at the end. He's a torso. That's not his cloak anymore.
Yeah.
Hey, that's mine, he said. That was my cloak. Yeah, it was. Grotsnik smiled. A curious bauble you looted from the creepy docks. But you see, it ain't just a bauble. It's soul tech. He lifted it, gently shaking the glowy green orb. Something was different about it. The glow had formerly been soft, like a candle, but now a spark thrashed angrily inside the vessel. Like a tiny lightning bolt, it bounced within, seemingly unable to escape, growing brighter all the time. Grotsnik grinned, then looked back down at Vultan. Ghazghkull won because of the green, because he can channel it. And now, so can I.
Oh, fucking shit ass. What? He just put fucking wild juice in a spirit stone?
So after he stole the stone, he put it in the big monster thing, and somehow presumably captured some of Ghazghkull's wadness.
Right. The big monster was just a ploy in order to get the stone close enough to the bucket.
Well, no, the big monster was actually surprisingly wholesome because orcs. So, which I didn't mention, but the whole his brain rotting thing, he was collecting the bits, and then he excised it, like what he called. He says that he doesn't. He's not mad. He's not angry or feel hatred. He cut it all out, and then let it fester, and then concentrated it, and then put it in the beast's brain. And that was all of his anger at Ghazghkull. But then
I focused all the hatred into the one part of my brain, and I scooped that out, and I boiled it down, and then I fried it in more hate that I harvested from a squig what I tortured, and then I put it all in his brain towards you.
yes,
That's funny.
yes, everything you just said was correct. And so Vultan has a connection to it just because he carried it for so long or something. And so the energy inside reacts to him. So now Dalton's just like strapped to Fulton's just strapped to a table and like is getting greened, I guess.
Yeah, he's
like
he's getting made into a new kind of technology.
Yeah, and it's apparently forcing in the energy to channel the green is like breaking him down, but he's getting bigger, and it's a whole thing. It was cool, but apparently Mad Doc Grotsnik can manipulate Wassel.
Yeah, he's making
stuff.
an ethereal engine.
A lot of lore drops, a lot of implications in that, man.
That is,
There's a bunch.
Is that the new one that came out?
Yeah.
That's hilarious that we're doing this and that now.
That was just recently.
That just came out, yeah.
And I had no idea it was already out. I thought it was.
Oh my god, that rules! I'm being introduced to a lot of lore things throughout these past couple episodes, and this really feels like. I'm glad that book came out right now. It feels like it really culminated.
Yeah, it really did. Perfect timing.
So, if you want me to wrap this all together, I know it's a little bit all over the place. I'm not sure how cohesive my argument comes across. I hope I made a good case. But if I were to have to connect everything, basically, that I've brought up today, right?
Yes.
So, the Brain Boyz. Who are the Brain Boyz? Well, it says they were the Snotlings.
Yes.
So, I can see that, sure, maybe the Snotlings are the Brain Boyz.
Right.
That happened. They created a lot of technology. They worked on the Orks. They made pretty much established how that like ecosystem worked, got things going. Then the whole reversal happened. The Orks took over. The fungus died out. And see, this is where it's like the stretches come in. Like if you want to include that version, then the Old Ones found them and manipulated their genetics from there, turning them into the fungal species. They turned them into like the perfect weapon. It was the groundwork was already there by the Brain Boyz,
and then the Old Ones.
And then the Old Ones finished it to create the Krork.
Yeah.
And in my head,
that's kind of what I was getting at earlier. Yeah.
In my head, the Krorkian psychosphere is like a repository of everything the Orks need, but the biggest one being like knowledge. Like it's coded into them, and that's also pretty explicitly stated. It's like in their DNA. But then the psychosphere, I feel like, acts as just like a well that they could tap into, sometimes accidentally, like the Mad Boys. But originally, I imagine the Krork were all just connected to it. That's like my interpretation. That's how they were all super smart and were just huge.
Yeah.
Then the Old Ones go away. There's no one to like keep them in check anymore. They did their job, the Krork. The Catan are gone. The Necrons are gone. They still have their instincts, and so they just start fighting each other, like beating the shit out of each other and everyone else until they're beaten back by the Eldar, because the Eldar were just not fair.
They knew it was going to happen. They got to put down Old Yeller.
They were also ridiculously powerful at the time because the warp wasn't fucked yet.
They could shoot like fucking sun cannons at people.
And so in my head...
And furthermore, the sun cannon didn't even work on the Void Dragon. That's the threat they were up against. They would use an entire sun to power a laser cannon, and it didn't work on the guy. I mean, it hit him, but he fucked off. He didn't die. He fucked off. Anyway.
Yeah, Catan are a problem. But I don't know if there's a timeline for when Gork and Mork were made, but I've never seen them mentioned in the War in Heaven. You'd think they'd want to be a part of that.
Right.
So I think what happened was that the Krork devolved, right? And then the Orks became more primitive, more savage, more primal, yet they still had all those instincts in there. And then the coded information that just needed the stimulus to go off, which a codex, I'm not going to bring it up, but I could if someone wants me to prove it, that noted that the Gestalt field works also as like a hormonal stimulus when it reaches like when the Wa is building, as a way to help them grow. But after they shrank and then they lost all that like advanced knowledge, what usually fills in that gap? Religion.
The Wa.
And so I imagine from there they then created Gork and Mork.
Right.
Which then influenced them as a species, because that, tends to do that.
Yeah.
And then from there, the Orkish beliefs built up over time. And then that established things like the clans. Why are they different? They believed long enough that they were different that their genetics changed. Because otherwise, I don't know how you can explain that. For example, why would the old ones have gene coded the Krorks to have bad moons whose teeth grow faster?
I mean, why would they have them, like, why would they create a subservient species that had any chance for genetic mutation at all? That essentially ensures that they will mutate away from what you want. So either you're assuming that the genetic mutations will occur, and that's fine because they'll die out once we're done with them, which could be what's happening technically, or like that simply isn't the source of them, it's just a part of them. They were like, if they were a species that was discovered by the old ones and then manipulated into their weapon, then obviously they would probably still...
Let me say there's no evidence to support that. That is my speculation. That is me bridging gaps.
I know, but this is like me. I agree with like that interpretation of the lore. That's a...
Thank you. Yeah. And so to me, that's how that happened. They literally changed their own like DNA, and the clans were established because it's implied in the War of the Beast. The clans weren't really established until then. Maybe they were, maybe they weren't. Who knows?
Everything's sort of timey-wimey about...
Yeah, and then from there, they developed into the proper orcs that we know.
Yeah.
And then, so that, in my mind, makes them... They are now distinctly removed from the Krork.
Yeah.
My personal belief is that doesn't matter how big an orc gets, he's not going to become a new Krork.
Right.
Instead, he's going to be a giant-ass orc who is comparable to a Krork.
Right. They're genetically not the same creature anymore, really. It's like the difference between like
a wolf and a dog.
Yeah,
they're not the same thing anymore.
It's like similar, same stock, but they've been removed for them for so long, and then it's really the belief thing that I swear that like that for me that is what fuels everything. Like just one the orky nature of just how stubborn they are, and then how religious they are, and that they can believe in multiple things simultaneously. I don't know if they couldn't affect things, you know?
I mean, also, here's another thought about, like, Gork and Mork probably not existing till after, like, the Krorks are over. If the Krorks were still around when they, like, the Orks found, like, the religious, like, need within them, wouldn't Gork and Mork look like Krorks instead of Orks?
Mm-hmm.
God, that's a good tongue twister.
That's a good one. It is a tongue twister, but that is a good point.
Which, I did have a lot of stuff, but we are out of time. This has run a little bit long.
There's so much lore.
Yeah, I hope I made my case. I can come back if people want, and I can do more. But
no, I think those are some good final thoughts. I mean, it was definitely like enlightening. All that Mad Doc Grotsnik stuff was crazy, man. It's crazy how that just dropped too. Well, so great way to end off the series.
If I could ask, like, I know you guys are my friends, but have I convinced you?
So, in terms of like, does the Gestalt affect technology? I believe at this point you have to like willfully like, in order to completely disagree with that, you have to say like, well, that must not count.
Yeah, the basis of my argument is not that it's like the technology works because of the Psychic Gestalt. It just plays a part.
Yeah, it's a nudge.
It definitely affects it.
How much of a part? Who knows?
I'm sure it changes writer to writer, but it does affect
I just don't see how you can't attribute something to it.
It takes a gun that would probably jam 70, like maybe 30% of the time, and now it's going to jam like maybe 1% of the time.
Yeah, I didn't even get into it. There's the Mechanicus belief affects their machines.
Yeah,
you know,
Omnissiah.
There's a
machine
whole
spirit.
There's a goddamn servitor in the Horse Heresy in one of the books, who's part of the he's with the Word Bearers, and they treat him like a Marine. The Marines honorarily induct him as an honorary word bearer.
Yeah. Oh wow!
And the machine seems to like respond to this, like the servitor, because it was like a vat grown creature. It never lived truly.
Right.
It just has like some bits of brain in there, and the Magos
adopting the mascot.
Yeah, the Magos, who's automaton that is he's confused. He's just like, I keep finding this fucking anomaly and I can't get it out. Like, and then at the end, basically it's a God, what are the big stompy robots? Mechanicus robots?
Not Centurion.
The red ones.
Cataphren.
I think that's it.
Not Cataphren. Oh my god, it's because they're so cool.
Yeah, he's a sick ass war robot.
Castellan.
There you go. Yeah.
Castellan.
So
Bottom,
he's one of those, and then that battle robot at the end speaks and says for the Legion.
Which it should not be able to.
Yeah,
that's an
it shouldn't have thoughts of any kind, but because of presumably the belief and camaraderie and friendship that the word bearers had for it had an effect and changed it.
Yeah,
that's wholesome.
Which you can argue maybe it just changed the organic bits, but fuck you, it was like he didn't have a whole brain. Okay, they just used the bits they need.
Why would something be able to only affect organic?
I don't,
like that's the argument that I would pose to that, because organic parts don't change just because it's the same thing that changes mechanical things. It's movement of particles and changing actual things.
There's really no distinction in Warhammer with psychics affecting biological things. It's materium versus immaterium.
Yeah.
So yeah.
In which I should have said this at the beginning. I am not trying to shit on Wes Hammer.
Yeah, he's not throwing shade. Yeah,
this is just a thing you're passionate about.
Yeah, I'm not, and this is not supposed to be like a gotcha, oh look, you say you know somebody. No, I'm not trying to do that. It's just I don't think he looked at. He didn't look at the same things I looked at, and wasn't able to draw conclusions.
You made a very compelling argument, man. Like I said, I buy it.
So yeah, anyone out there, don't shit on Wes Hammer, please. If you want to say hey, do you agree with this? Send him our video, But he does good work. Watch his stuff; it's good.
And with that, we're going to end tonight's episode. Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed the nature of this podcast, go ahead and give us a like and subscribe on YouTube. You can go ahead and give us a follow on Blue Sky, and you can support us on our Patreon. And have a good night.
Good night, everybody.
Bye.